Welcome to Adobe Premiere tutorial number 2. This is going to go in a few parts. This is part 1, and in this section of the tutorials we're going to be actually putting together our first video. And this video is going to be fairly simple. It's going to be a series of still images with a music bed. We're going to add some effects and a few titles, and what I wanted to do first was show you what the finished product, so what are we trying to achieve. I'm going to give you an example of what the finished product may look like, and yours may vary. It may be a little bit different, but that's okay too. But this will give you a sense of what we're actually trying to achieve. So I'm just going to play this video, and you can see that it's a still image and a title comes up. The title fades out, and then you see a little bit of movement of the image, and then you see an effect, a transition effect, and then you're going to see another transition effect here, and then it sort of wraps up with a final transition, and then the music's going to fade out, and that's it. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're actually going to achieve this. We're going to go back over to Adobe Premiere, and where we left off was, here's our timeline right here at the bottom, our program window, our source or our preview window, and our slideshow project, and down here we have our video effects. So all of these things are things that we're going to use in the process of creating the first part of our video. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to actually import all of our images or our assets, and that, like I said before, can be your photos, it can be video, it can be music or various different elements you want to include in your video. So the first step to do this is you just click on the File menu, and you're going to click on Import. And you'll see here that it takes you right to the folder where your project is located, because we set up our project properly in the first place and we pointed it in the right direction. And then we'll see inside of this folder that we've got some JPEG images, and we also have our Premiere project as well, and we also have our MP3 or our audio track file. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select the assets that we want to bring into the project. So you can actually click on the asset, and then if you hold down the Control key on your keyboard, then you can just select, by clicking once, you can select just the things that you want to bring in, so the JPEG images and the MP3 audio file. Once you've got those selected, you can click the Import button, and you see now it will appear in your bin, in your project window over here. You'll have all of your images and your MP3 audio file. So now that we have these here, we're able to start to bring them into our timeline. Our timeline is basically just a visual representation of how our video is going to lay out. So let's always start with the music, because you want to lay down your soundtrack first, so that then when you cut your images, you're actually cutting your images to the soundtrack instead of trying to put your images in place first and then time them to the soundtrack. So we'll start by just bringing in our audio clip, and if you just click once, to select the clip in your bin, and then if you just drag, you'll see that your mouse turns to a little hand, and as you drag, all of a sudden it will pop into the audio 1 track right here, and it'll turn green. And then when you let go, your audio clip is now sitting in your timeline, and you see it visually represented here. You can see the little waveform here, and it's there in your timeline. So now what will happen is if you actually play this, and you can go over here to the program window and play this, you'll actually hear the music. You can also use the space bar on your keyboard. You'll notice that as you hover over things in Premiere, whatever you hover over, you'll see a little tooltip that comes up and tells you exactly what that button does. So that's a really easy way to maneuver in the program. So now we've got our audio track in here. You can see that I can actually take this little blue chip here, and with the red line underneath, and scrub it along the track, and that actually lets me move to a certain point in the timeline, and that will be useful when you actually get into doing some of the more fine maneuvers in the program. So then now we want to put some video, in place. Okay, so our video here are actually just images for the purposes of this, but this could be a video clip as well. So we're going to start with this one here. If I click on this blue daisy and click on the actual icon, blue daisy right here, then you see the picture actually comes up in our source window, and that's great. So we can see what it looks like. If that's the one we want to use, that's great. And then what I can do is if I just take and pick it up, so I click my mouse and I start to drag, and again that hand appears, and I can actually dump it right into the timeline just like I did with the audio and drop it. And then you'll see that it actually shows up here in the program window. Now you'll notice that it looks a lot bigger in this window than it does in this window, and there's a really simple reason for that. That's because the image is scaled to a very large size. You'll see here up here in the corner it says 1632 by 1632. That means that the image is quite large. So I want to actually scale that down, and in Premiere it lets me scale the images to whatever size I want. And the easiest way to do this is, first of all, I'm going to zoom my program window out. I'm going to zoom it out a lot because the image is quite large. And if I just click on the middle of the program window of this blue flower, then I see some handles that appear. And this is going to allow me to scale my image. You can see that if I drag them in, I can actually change the size of my image, position it into the frame, and then when I go back to fit it in the window, you see it's a little bit more along the lines of the size that I want it to be. So now when I play back my video by clicking the play button, I hear my music and I see the video, and then when the video stops, or when the image stops, it goes back to just a black screen and it's ready for me to insert another image. So that's how you insert clips into the timeline, audio clips and video clips. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at adding a couple of more clips and then adding some effects to those clips.